Why am I reviewing My Riding Stable's Life with Horses? Better question. Why do I own My Riding Stable's Life with Horses? This boss could not scream girly foo-foo crap any harder if it tried. Did you order this? Well, red flags start waving before even turning the game on. The cover art is a nice photo of an actual live woman standing next to an actual live horse, while the preview image on the PlayStation 4 menu looks like cheap-ass clip art. And you know how every PlayStation 4 game has a startup screen while the game boots? Like Marvel's Avengers has a shot of all the superheroes, minus Jane Foster's Thor and Winter Soldier, because they had completely given up by then. The horse game's preview image is the stock Unity Engine title card. Yeah, I'm in deep horse shit. Stock clip art looking menu. Let's see what the options are. Volume and delete profile. Oh, good God. The game opens with a character creator. You get 2 hairstyles and 3 shirts. I think I accidentally made Fred from Scooby-Doo, so we'll name the horse Scooby. It's a better take on both of them than Velma. The premise of the game, as relayed to you by text walls, is that you've purchased a set of stables that you want to turn into a successful business. I start wandering around, and the movement controls are hot garbage. Your avatar kinda sorta runs on tank controls to where moving forward runs and moving anywhere else as you slow to a crawl. You control like crap. I swear that when I went to investigate the stables, the game kept having me turning in the opposite direction from where I was pushing. I don't even know how you do that! The first activity that I found is a riding stable where I'm being paid to train a horse. You steer the horse with a control stick to try and stop it in the middle of a few targets, but the game is treating my inputs like vague suggestions. I have to fight like hell to get the damn horse to change lanes, and then sometimes the horse changes lanes on its own, and I can't stop it. At one point I got screwed out of points because it hit the target diagonally. Why can I only barely control the damn game? Well, it didn't take long to figure out that the game was built to be played with a keyboard. If you use the controller's D-pad buttons, the game works perfectly. But if you use the control stick, the game perpetually melts down from not being able to interpret the input. Maybe don't release your game on consoles if you don't know how to code for consoles! You start out with 1 stable, 1 horse, and almost no money. To get your horse to like you, you have to take it to the stable, feed it, and do 2 lame-ass minigames to clean it by brushing the dirt off and picking the crap out of its hooves. Once you do all that, you can take the horse to a training course to prepare for a race. You would think that the racing is where the actual gameplay would come in, but it's not. The racing is just a series of quick time events where you push both shoulder buttons to jump hurdles and every now and then tilt the controller to take a corner. Yes, I'm serious. The devs couldn't actually program riding a horse, so they just pretended to program riding a horse. In this horse riding game, you have to do this stupid training course like 5 times before the horse is skilled enough to enter an actual race, and no matter what I do or how much I feed my horse to max out its energy and health, he slows to a crawl for the entire second half of the race, and the only thing that briefly fixes it is to slow him to a stop and then speed up again. It is so damn clunky and confusing. And the way your horse leaps hurdles in slow motion, yeah, they had 1 jumping animation and it just plays slower if you're not at top speed. But yeah, the gameplay loop boils down to just these 3 basic-ass activities on an endless cycle. Feed and groom horse, race horse, train other horses to get money for food and upgrades. 3 rock simple, sorry excuses for minigames that you'll be sick to death of doing within 20 minutes of booting up. This thing plays like it broke off a release of World of Simulators, those janky con jobs made by people who can just about program a finished game and then somehow bluff their way into releasing their trash on physical discs. Hell, the game's so unfinished that they couldn't animate the training horses turning left and right. They just warped from facing one direction to the other. This game's budget was around $10. If you want to earn any money outside of the stupid training game, you need to save up enough cash to renovate the guest house, which costs $1,000. And also buy other horses for your guests to rent out, which run another $500 at minimum. And if you want more than 2 horses at once, you need to shell out another $1,000 to upgrade your stables. So you better get used to driving horses in circles because you'll be at it for a long, long time. this shit! Nobody's going to watch a review about a stupid horse game. I need to cover something people actually want to see. Like Gilson B. Pontes. This is Tai Shogun, The Rise of Emperor, the 5th game in Gilson's catalog. Ostensibly, we'll get to that later. The game has no story whatsoever, at least none that's intelligible to anybody not named Gilson. You play as a vaguely samurai-looking dude on a horse who spawns in a city where the floor is water, and you go through one of 3 portals to different time periods to fight shit. And it literally does not matter which of the 3 time periods you go to, because Japan was apparently a big, empty, barren wasteland with abysmal distance fog throughout its entire history. This fog's giving Superman 64 a run for its money. Each objective marker indicates an enemy that you need to kill, so I ride out to the nearest bad guy, and I die in 1 hit. Because of course I did. Let's try this again. Dead again. Oh, what the hell? It didn't even look like I got hit that time. Yeah, instant replay. I died from not getting hit, you bastard! Aha! Yes! I killed that bitch! I took down where the hell is my horse? Seriously, the literal second that you get into combat, the horse turns tail and runs as far away from you as possible, like it wants the fuck out of this game right now. So now you either have to drag your ass back over to the horse to get your mount back to continue playing, or just resign yourself to slowly trudging over to the rest of your objectives. What, did Gilson think players would run away from fights but couldn't program any other way to prevent that? What the hell? The controls are just baffling. Attacking is mapped to the bumpers L1 and R1, dodge roll is the circle button, X mounts or dismounts your horse, and none of the other buttons do a damn thing. Holding square will make you crouch down in what looks like some kind of stealth mechanic, but no matter what I did, enemies would automatically detect me as soon as I got close, like it's another aborted mechanic that Gilson couldn't figure out how to program. And no matter where you're moving or what direction you're facing, the dodge roll always sends you to the right, which is insanely clunky and awkward and actively regressing from Gilson's other games. Dodge rolls used to work perfectly fine. It didn't take long to notice that if you're in the middle of a dodge roll, enemy attacks won't read as damage even if they hit you. So the strategy in combat is to dodge roll continuously until your target launches an attack, then land a few hits. You can't rely at all on reacting to enemy attacks, not just because they're too fast to dodge on reflex, but because the bugged out dodge roll doesn't work if they had started an attack before you pressed circle. So yeah, brilliant swordplay all around. Sometimes when you get into combat, the camera will lock onto your opponents so you can always see them and strafe appropriately, but about half the time the camera bugs out and doesn't do this. So after 1 or 2 dodge rolls, you're facing clear in the wrong direction and your target is off screen, and you have to stop and slowly wrestle both the camera and your useless ass protagonist into facing the right direction, which leaves you open to getting hit, so nothing in the game's combat works the way it's supposed to. There are 2 types of enemies that I've encountered. Humanoid foes dressed like ninjas or samurai die in 2 or 3 hits, but the red objective markers are for big troll-like enemies. I got into combat with one, and I landed 41 hits before my luck ran out and I died. It didn't even seem to piss him off. Not that it matters. Killing enemies doesn't seem to do jack to advance the game state. They seem to respawn infinitely, and they sure as hell don't drop items or give you experience to strengthen you for bigger fights, because those would be actual gameplay mechanics, and that's beyond the abilities of Gilson B. Pontes. But low-key, one of the most annoying things in the game is that all the game's audio also plays really loudly through the speaker on your controller. There is no way to shut it off. I checked the pause menu, which can't be activated in the hub world, and it only has options to restart or quit to the main menu. And pausing doesn't actually pause the game. In fact, since the control stick moves your character while the D-pad navigates the menu, you could keep playing the game with the pause menu up in case the combat didn't suck enough for you already. And the game looks ugly as hell. The main character and the horse have a cartoony art style and a thick black outline like they were going for cell shading, but everything else looks more or less realistic. I can't even tell what the large enemies are supposed to be, just a hulk of random shapes. One of the 3 levels is bugged to where it's constantly in gray, which is only supposed to happen when you're in combat. The horse's textures are blurry, and look at the ground. It's built out of sharp polygons like this was an alpha of a Sega Saturn game. This feels like the laziest and most slapped together of Gilson's games to this point. Gilson's other games had terrain and landmarks. They didn't resort to blinding you with distance fog. The assets didn't look like they came from 3 different games. His other titles at least looked finished. The best I can say for Tai Shogun is you don't have to run quite as long between objectives, and it's just bugged enough to where it's feasible to make it to the end, but it's still barely a game, and it's still a heap of shit. But this review is not about Gilson. Honest, it's about life with horses. You can build a bridge that opens up more of the compound, a breeding stable, and a path that leads to more races, except there are 3 paths leading out of the hub, and 2 of them don't do anything, because you only have access to 1 racing course at a time, and you don't get a new one until it's finished. And races are only held on Sundays to strangle off your progress with mandatory time gates. The pause menu has an end day option that you'd think you could use to skip to the races, but you can't. You have to stop every day to clean and feed all of your horses or else they get sick. And you have to keep grinding the training game for cash to buy essentials. And you have to grind the training courses because your horse's skill will continually drop. So no matter what you do, there's an annoying grind attached. Anyway, I saved up the cash to open up the guest house and I bought another few horses for the guests to rent out. And as soon as you buy the guest house, they demand even more money to open more than 3 rooms. And you want to know what I got for having 3 guests vacationing at my compound with 3 lovely and perfectly healthy horses for them to rent? $180! That's like 3 shots at the training minigame. That is pathetic! Why did I grind all that cash to have guests if the guests barely do dick? They even steal the horses that you're trying to train up for races, the chintzy little ingrates! And I don't know what the hell my guests are doing with my horses because they always come back absolutely filthy! Well, you can pay 400 credits to unlock a therapy building where you can do a massaging minigame for more cash. You're told that arrows will point to where you need to massage and that the indicator will tell you if you're doing a good job. 2 problems. 1, there are no arrows, and 2, I massaged all over this damn horse. The indicator didn't budge. I wonder if they just flat-ass forgot to program this minigame. I can't get it to respond to anything that I do. There are like 5 activities grand total in this sham of a game, and one of them doesn't even work. Alright, so after hours of grinding, all the brushing, the feeding, the cleaning, the training, and the quick time events, I finally make it to Sunday. It's racing day, the big event, the single main activity that you spend most of the rest of the game preparing for. The point where this might contain some activity that resembles an actual video game. And it's just the same training course on a time limit. The same recycled quick time events again. And when you win the race that you had to grind for hours to reach, your reward is $100. Which is piss in this game's economy. And now, until the next race comes around in several more hours, it's right back to the grind of perpetually cleaning all the horses for cheapskate guests day in and day out, interspersed with running horses in a circle. This is so boring. So boring that I yearn for another Gilson B. Pontes game like Ashigaru the Last Shogun. The quote that Gilson chose to open this game warns you not to do the same thing too many times to the same enemy. Gilson, the dev who basically keeps remaking the same game, says you shouldn't keep doing the same thing. After an opening cutscene laden with screen tearing, you're given an actual storyline for a change. 2 rival warlords are fighting for control over Japan, 1 warlord is dying, and the other's forces are trying to take advantage. But blow me if I could tell you which of the 2 clans you're actually playing. After the requisite dreamscape wander slowly to a portal bullshit, you just teleport to an open area, and it tells you to assassinate the daimyo lords... What? The lords what? Apostrophe S means possession, you dumb bastard! Once again, you're given a horse, so I ride out to one of the objective markers on the map, which is a sword shrine. Okay, did that actually do anything, or is it just... Where the hell did my horse go? The damned horse actually managed to escape the game this time. Huh. Anyway, visiting a shrine makes enemies appear, so you run an infuriatingly long distance to whichever target catches your fancy, and combat begins. And what are the combat controls, you may ask? Well, R1 attacks, and that's it! No, that is quite literally it. You have no block, no dodge roll, no ranged weapons of any kind. Pushing the right bumper to swing your sword is the only combat input in the entire game. So combat consists of running up to an enemy, swinging your sword once or twice to try and deal damage, and then dying instantly, because like most of Gilson's games, you still die in one hit. The enemies have the exact same range as you do, and according to the precious few times that I managed to score any hits, they don't flinch for 1 single millisecond when they take damage. You hit them, they immediately hit you back, you have 0 chance to dodge, and you die. The combat has degraded to being pretty much physically impossible. This bullshit is completely unplayable. I checked the game's trophies. Only 4% of players are able to down a single enemy. 3.4% total have beaten the game, as much as it can be beaten. For comparison, Tai Shogun's trophies show about 20% of players able to score any kills. I'm calling it now, those 4% on Arshigaru are hackers. Each time you die, the game cycles you between 3 different levels, all of which look completely interchangeable, and one of the levels is called Shit! Aragawa. Each level has an animal, like a wolf or something, but the horse is the only one that seems to do anything because you can ride it. Up until you reach your first objective, and then, hey, where do you think you're going? Get back here, you son of a bitch! Huh. I guess you don't need the horse after all. Your character is faster barefoot. And even if you catch the horse, you can't ride it again. Just, what was even the point of this thing? There's nothing else to the damn game. You have to run between objective markers for at least 5 minutes at a time before you get another crack at the combat, and no matter what I do, I just die immediately. Your attack animation is so damn slow, and you get stunned for like a week straight if your attack is blocked, and it does nothing to the enemy so they can hit you right back. I can't find any way to land a successful hit without the game getting so pissed off that it kills me for it. You just have no chance to dodge attacks. They will attack you the second you go in for a strike, and it's game over. The only other thing to comment on is that at least this game has terrain and models past the boundaries of the map. It looks less like a pre-alpha than Tai Shogun did, at least until you try to walk through plants and they phase inside of you. And speaking of the terrain, why are there 4 moons? Maybe this isn't Earth at all. Maybe this is an artist's depiction of hell, trapped in a purgatory, reliving the worst parts of your life where you work your ass off only to never accomplish a single thing. Because if there is a hell, you know for a fact that it'll have Gilson's games. I feel the need to remind you, because this cannot be stressed enough, this was Gilson B. Ponce's 6th game on the PlayStation 4. 6th! 5 friggin' titles he had for practice before shitting out this embarrassment, and he hasn't learned a single damn thing! And this wasn't even the 6th game total that Gilson has made! Jim Steph Sterling did some digging on Gilson, and before he got famous for Spear of Destiny, his company Lightning Game Studio shot out 14 games for the PlayStation Vita. They were called the Soul Brain series, and at least one of them had to be delisted for stealing assets from Skyrim and Ori and the Blind Forest. I was planning on covering a 3rd Gilson game here. Gilson has released a new game once a year in January like clockwork the last 6 years, but Gilson actually missed this year. Broke his pattern by not dumping out another game in Q1 2023. I don't know why. Maybe trying and failing to shut down Sterling's channel broke Gilson on a psychological level. Maybe his antics made Sony stop publishing him. I don't know, and I don't care. Because this video is not about Gilson. It's about life with horses. I found out that if you buy and then read books, it gets you more money for doing the activities and booking guests and etc. Except you can only buy 1 book in each category until you've hit a 2-star ranking, which requires beating the first 3 races, which is time gated to take 3 in-game weeks, and the extra cash that you get for the books is crap. Maybe $9 extra per minigame and maybe $6 per guest. Thanks a pantload, dicks. There's no point to actually reading what's in the books either, because I can promise you that not a single word of this gobbledygook is actually programmed into the game. Every day is the exact same loop. Feed and clean all the horses, book customers, and either practice a race or grind up cash in the training minigame. I thought maybe the end day option would simulate the rest of the day for you, like you set up your guests and then you can skip to the end where they've had their fun and you get paid for the day. Yeah, no. End day cuts the day off so that you don't get paid jack by your customers. Unless you've saved enough to go multiple days with no income whatsoever, you have to sit on your ass and let the game play out, even if you're just waiting for the race to come around. Not that the guests are even worth it, they pay such a pittance with the game's trash balancing. One programming screw-up that breaks in your favor, though, you can replenish your horse's skill level by just doing the piss-easy initial training course. The one that barely drains energy so that you can do it over and over with ease and train up the horse in a single day. Which is good, because the last day before the third race, I went out to get Scooby to train him, and a guest sniped him out from under my nose and took him away. I'm seriously gonna beat the shit out of these dumbasses I keep getting for guests that don't stop pissing me off. And these races are a complete joke. The time limit is set up to where, even grappling with the speed problem that's never explained, you basically have to fall asleep to lose them. So, credit for knowing the game's audience, I guess. I decided that my official give up point would be after the third race, since beating that race gets you a 2-star rating, and I'm curious if that matters or not. I skipped pretty much a whole week's worth of days, still having to stop to clean my damn horses. Oh, what's that? So you're suggesting to sell the other horses to save on the grind maintaining them and get to the races faster? Well, you can't, son! You need multiple horses to advance your facility to new rankings to unlock new stuff. The third race plays exactly the damn same as the first two, and bam, I have a 2-star facility. And having a 2-star facility means basically nothing. Now you can go to a different road sign for the races, and you can buy a new set of books to marginally increase the money that you're making. In other words, you don't get rewarded shit for completing your objectives. You just get handed some more objectives, more junk that you have to save up and buy, until the game eventually cuts off. Yippee. The one final activity that I hadn't tried yet was the breeding stable. You can breed 2 of your horses to form a hybrid that you can sell, or you can use your horses to breed with rentals to get paid for the offspring. Basically, it's a tiny minigame where you cycle through the catalog until you find horses with a 67 or 100% rating on what the customer wants. And not only does breeding get you vastly more money than any other activity in the game, it also takes literally 0 time in the day. Pimping out your horses to sire dozens of offspring only takes a few seconds, and I think the same mares keep popping up every time I do this game too, so horse birth must be friggin' instantaneous if the girl horse is free to get knocked up again 10 minutes later. They just didn't care. You can make obscene amounts of money by just cycling through a menu for a few minutes. This game is a completely pointless joke. It's a game about raising horses, but the horses don't do anything except stand there while they eat shit and need constant cleaning. There is nothing to this game except for 4 boring nothing QTE minigames that you have to do for hours for no payoff, layered on top of a business management sim that's broken to hell and so shallow that it aspires to puddle status. There's no game in this game! Oh, wait, I forgot there was another option on the menu called Instant Mode. You play as a horse wandering a tiny empty map loaded with invisible walls and nothing to do. Congratulations! And as a final epitaph, I took a look at the game's trophies. Only about 1.7% of the game's players bother to finish it. 1.7%! That's even lower than Gilson B. Ponce's games! But this review isn't about Gilson. It's not, really. It's about life with horses. This will be the final video that I ever make on Life with Horses. The particular developer of Life with Horses has a track record of claiming copyright infringement on any YouTubers who cover their games in order to slap them with DMCA strikes. Those are the strikes where getting 3 of them deletes your channel forever, And because YouTube's broken copyright system is designed from the ground up to favor corporations, copyright claims are virtually impossible to fight. If someone just decides that they want to shut down your channel, and you don't get lucky to where YouTube blocks the attempt on their own, your only hope of stopping it is to get an actual lawyer that can threaten YouTube into having your back, even if said copyright claims are blatantly covered by fair use. Google's hands are tied here, as copyright laws the world over are so broken that, as I understand it, a single unpunished case of legitimate copyright infringement would put YouTube as a whole at risk of being shut down. So YouTube kind of has to have a nuke from orbit attitude towards any complaints that they get. It's just a tangled mess of an issue that's not going to get better anytime soon. So as much as you enjoy my ragging on life with horses, the very instant that a third video exists for them to strike, it would put the channel in very real danger. And I'm not going to risk everything I've built here on that spineless sack of monkey shit.